Well, welcome everybody to a collab between the Green Sports Alliance, the Sustainable Sport Index through APTIM, and LA Memorial Coliseum. We are really excited to be giving you the rundown of what SSI is, how to fill it out, what it can mean for you, how this helps the whole, movement of what we're trying to accomplish in collegiate sports sustainability. And we're also going to hear from someone who has participated in this survey himself. So hopefully we can answer, all of your questions through this, but also available for questions afterwards. I should have introduced myself. As you'll know, I'm Lauren Lichterman with the Green Sports Alliance. I will kick it over to Emma Bell to introduce herself.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. My name is Emma Bell. I work at APTIM, which, like Lauren mentioned, powers the Sustainable Sport Index. I've been here 3 years now, and 1 year specifically with our survey and report. I have a business degree and a civil engineering background. And my business degree was from the other USC, University of South Carolina, upstate. So thought I'd mention that one really quick.
U
Anyways,
of
I'll
S
pass it
City.
over to Chris. Oh,
We
yes.
all like to throw up our horns, really rep the college.
My name is Chris Kalaw. I'm the sustainability assistant at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. And I am both a user of the SSI and participant of the SSI, and also a member of the Green Sports Alliance.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
And APTIM's also a member of the Green Sports Alliance. They have been a very valuable member of ours, and we're really excited, like I said, to be sharing more about the Sustainable Sport Index with everybody today and showcase how this meets a need. In all of my amazing conversations with college representatives, wondering how do we play on the competitive nature of collegiate athletics and better understand the landscape that we're in and what the potential is. And the whole, if you're not first, you're last, or maybe you don't want to be first, you want to be second sort of vibe that we get. This is going to be a really, really helpful tool to be able to use as leverage, we hope, to further collegiate sustainability, collegiate athletic sustainability. So I'll let Emma take it away and tell us a little bit more about APTIM in depth, and just get us started. We're going to be real conversational today. Get ready to have some fun.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, so just a quick background, like we mentioned, APTIM is an environmental consulting firm that powers the Sustainable Sport Index. We are a leading professional solutions firm surrounding environmental sustainable solutions, as well as resilience and critical infrastructure solutions. So we're across the map. We have clients ranging from government to commercial. So we have a lot of experience and experts that help power SSI, specifically with our sustainability solutions team. So as well as working on the Sustainable Sport Index, I am part of our sustainability solutions team. I specifically work in our strategy and policy departments, but we also have a lot to deal with our performance aspect of it with our clients as well. And I really just wanted to highlight this to show that we have a lot of experts around sustainability that help power and create the survey and reports themselves. Yes, I help lead and guide that survey development and the benchmarking reports, but it's through collaboration and those specific subject matter experts that are powered through APTIM. So we have a great team that help work on and provide this value back to the industry. So just wanted to highlight that and show that we do have a lot of thought behind our survey and benchmarking reports. So getting into what we're here about, the Sustainable Sport Index, or SSI, just to highlight what it is, as you maybe don't know, it is a survey that collects self-reported data from venues, and we publish a public anonymized benchmarking report and provide confidential custom reports to participants. So we've seen a lot of value in specifically these custom reports for participants, which I'm sure Chris can help touch on a little bit on our next few slides. But a few quick points as to why we're unique. All of our data is confidential and anonymized. We limit this, it's designed on purpose because we don't want to offer rankings, awards, and certifications to include all venues on all different types of their sustainability journey. We see that with rewards and rankings, it encourages, the higher level and more far-fetched, people who are really far into their sustainability journey to participate. But by having this anonymized aspect of it, it really encourages people who might just be starting as well to get that benchmarking and just getting started into their sustainability. Again, we have these custom reports that offer actionable insights. And all of this participation and reports are at no cost.
So, hey, on that,
Yeah.
when you say it's at no cost, like, why is this free? Like, how is that possible? What's the benefit to Aptim if this is a free thing?
Yeah, that's a great point. So twofold. One, Aptim has their own ESG initiatives. So the SSI survey and benchmarking report is offered as a thought leadership piece, specifically in the sports space. And two, along those lines, the sports industry is such an influential industry. So Aptim is, by providing this tool to the sports industry, it gets our name out there a little more in regards to collaborating, to talking to GSA, to talking to collegiate and professional venues. Aptim isn't a well-known name. Like I mentioned, we do a lot of government work as well. So by providing this fun and exciting report that is helping industry practices, we're able to get our name out there. So again, a part of advancing our ESG initiatives, but also, getting to talk about Aptim and ourselves a little bit more in the sports industry.
So not only does it put out really valuable thought leadership, but it's something that Aptim is committed to keeping as a no-cost benefit because they see that marketing value for themselves. So I know in some conversations I've had with people, there's been some hesitation of like, how could something this cool possibly be free?
Yeah.
Like, what's the catch?
I know, free scary. So that's what we do say, no cost. We hate using the word free, but it really is to inspire that change, right? It's just, we're all here. We all want to make the difference. So that's just our little benefit to it.
I was going to add that the anonymized portion of it and the fact that it's an index. So like, this is something that you wouldn't get with an awards type of thing. Like there's a time and place to rank yourselves in terms of like winning this and how you stack up to other people. But in terms of trying to see where you're lacking, this really helps. And so it's kind of like that flip side of it's not showing you where you're best at, but it's more to highlight where you need to maybe come up a little more.
It's showing that potential. It's showing, hey, if this can happen in the industry elsewhere, then I probably can achieve it as well. And like if someone else has cleared those hurdles, I can clear those hurdles.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And thank you for touching on that. We'll highlight a little bit more on the benefits, but it's so true, right? We get to talk about those challenges. Maybe some people think things are impossible, but hey, other people are doing it. Let's have that conversation. Let's reach out. Let's see what we can do. No, that's a great interview.
Yeah, another good on this one, but that's another thing. Sorry, you can keep going to the next slide just quick.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I hear all the time from colleges is who's doing this stuff. And so yes, this is anonymized, and we wouldn't have the information to be able to tell you exactly who is doing the things, but you can see the things that are being done. And that's something, and you can say with percentages, with hard facts, 84% of college athletic football stadiums are working on zero waste. And if you're a venue that's not working on zero waste, you'll understand that you are behind the rest. And maybe that's your potential right there is to participate. And so that if you are working on it, you feel like not alone. Like I do have I do have other people that I can go reach out to, which,
anonymized.
You won't necessarily find those people from this, but they exist. And then Green Sports Alliance has a pulse on what the individuals are doing, and we can help make those connections. You can say, I saw in SSI, this exists. Do you know who's doing it? And I can tell you who's doing it.
Wink, wink. Yes, no, it's great. And that's why, and so the one thing, thank you for bringing that up. The one thing that we do publicize is your venue's name, who is participating, but you won't know their exact answers, correct? And that's why it's anonymized. But like you said, if there's a list and you're like, oh, maybe I could reach out to all these guys, maybe they would love to collaborate. That's also the great thing about SSI. We do want to foster peer collaboration as well. So, reflecting GSA as well on that, but 100%. All right, just to get into the reporting a little bit itself. So we have two reports, like I mentioned. So we have our public benchmarking report. This is where all of our anonymized data comes together. We release this report about all of our sections. And it's just a great tool that we've seen a lot of different people download. Academia, a lot of research, people in the sports industry, consultants, people trying to get, leverage in the sports industry and just seeing where everything's at. Another call out, I don't know if you could see really clearly on this, but in the bottom left, we do have a call out box specifically around Petco Park. As we keep mentioning, everything is anonymized, but we will report and highlight great things that are already publicly available information. So if you look up Petco Park, you can find this on the internet. So we're really just trying to highlight, the great things that our participants are doing, but, keeping that anonymity, but offering that case studies to help those resources moving forward. This is another opportunity. If someone was coming up and they're like, oh, I wonder who is doing renewable energy, SSI is a great resource where we're pulling together some of those resources as well.
Mhm.
And that's similar to how like GSA highlights things, right? Like we want our members to be telling us stories, but in the absence of hearing directly from members, we go and search for stories just like this Petco Park. And so it's similar to what we're sharing out on our channels as well.
Great. Exactly. Yes. And then again, and hopefully, I don't know if Chris, you want to bounce off little ideas on this. So the custom individual report, where we see a lot of the participants find most value. This is a mini gap analysis report. So we compare your responses to similar venue types. So for instance, if your collegiate ballpark wanted to be compared to other ballparks, we show that aggregated data, again, anonymized, but you can see the aggregated. And then again, to all participants, including collegiate and professional venues. So this is an opportunity to call out, like you guys were mentioning earlier, where are we lacking? Where are we doing great? And the SSI team even offers those observation boxes on these reports to show you're following best practices. Maybe this is an opportunity to improve in your space. Maybe you're being industry leaders and you guys are rocking it here. So Chris, I don't know if you have other little tips about if the individual report, if you have any insight on that, but
Yeah,
we see
I was
it's
gonna say that.
very
I was gonna say the
valuable.
observation part, when you see that you're an industry leader or you're above average, that's like it, like, yeah, I feel good about that. But on the flip side, um I'm able to also use this individual report to see like maybe there's something that I didn't even think about. I think on the previous slide there was something about, oh no, right here, like use of refrigerants with low global warming or ozone depletion potential. Like those are little things that, unless you're really into the science of it, you might not even realize that the fridges that we're using are like 10 years old and are really a big power draw, or using, those types of or still have certain chemicals in them that are like harmful to the environment. And so tiny things like that, where I wouldn't have even thought of that, gets that conversation started with my administration at least, and my superiors of, hey, there's this thing that might be doing us a lot of harm that we don't even think about, instead of like
Right.
focusing, like we focus on all the big things like solar power, water reclamation and things like that, or reuse, which are all great. But those are the things that we kind of already know about, and that we're actively tackling those challenges. So these observations are really showing, okay, this is something you might not even know about at all. Like, I don't know, there's a few that I've seen that specifically like with fridges and with like what we're using in the stadium that have actually helped us work on certain projects.
No,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And on that, so we know in collegiate athletics, there's not a lot of people truly within the athletic department that understand the full scope of what sustainability is, right? Like we're putting on events, we're making sure facilities are like clean and safe. And so no one expects someone in athletics to know all this information. And a lot of campuses have a great relationship with their Office of Sustainability, who do have this, but there's still some gaps always. And so having this observation box, like one, again, it's anonymous. So if it says you're doing industry leader level things, that's a great storytelling opportunity for you. But if it says you have room for improvement, no one's going to know that but you. But this can also help drive strategy. When you're in athletics and you're sitting here like, what do I do? Where do I start? Like, use this as a tool to help you figure out what your next steps could be. If there's something where you're industry leader, then okay, keep doing what you're doing, storytell that. If you've got something that is maybe more mid-range, then maybe that should be your next focus spot. And if you see something that's, wow, this is really needed improvement, you can put that on the back burner because that's probably going to be harder for you to achieve. So like put that in a later year strategy. So I think that's a really, really helpful tool.
Yeah, and I was going to say that coming from even myself, or our stadium, the Coliseum, having a dedicated sustainability person like myself, I still find myself coming back to this report to see like, what am I missing that I don't know? Because at least for our stadium, like we're not connected to the Office of Sustainability on campus as much. And that might be the same for other stadiums where you're a college stadium, but you're not really a part of campus.
Yeah.
And so you don't get those same resources or those same financial allocations. So where you might not have someone to ask, you can just come back to this report, and then that's where you can start growing from.
Yeah. This is awesome, guys. I love that. I always thought like even just the survey itself and going back to like Aptim's, like our team of experts, like the survey itself is such a resource. Even if you didn't get these reports at the end, like filling out the survey, like you said, it inspires these thoughts and you're like, oh, I didn't even think about, refrigerants. I didn't even think about the different, this waste stream or something like that. So I appreciate that feedback. So looking at this really quickly to highlight, so this was our 2023 survey participants. We were super excited. We had 41 participants, and that was a 64% increase from the year before. But we're most proud of is that 96% retention rate from 2022, so the year before. This alone just shows that our value is it's bringing so much value to our participants, and they're coming back year over year. And with that, they're even adding these extra values to their reports of this year-over-year analysis. I don't know if Chris, you noticed, like in the the individual report, like if something was improved upon, we called it out. We're like, you guys did great, you added this. So that's just when you're coming back year over year, you do get that extra little year-over-year analysis. So we're proud of that too, and we're glad to see that a lot of venues are seeing that value. Unfortunately, a lot of it is in the not unfortunately, we have grown greatly in the professional space, but the collegiate space is not there yet. And so hopefully with this webinar and this collaboration, with GSA and, Chris hopping on, we can get more awareness around SSI and just show the great benefits to it. So not sure if you guys have any comments or questions about, that maybe some barriers that colleges are having and why this is, hard to grasp.
Yeah, I've got a couple things real quick. First, the question actually, what was the first year that SSI was out? Was it 2022?
Yeah, great question. 2021. So we're now in our 4th year. So after COVID, which was probably a good start, but yes, we're now in our 4th year.
Okay, so that's, in a short amount of time.
Correct.
Yeah, that's really impressive. So I know the collegiate uptake of this has room for improvement, and that's what we're working on here. We're really, really excited that SSI is very open to receiving feedback and how this can be made more valuable for the collegiate space. And I might be jumping ahead here a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now, that we're really encouraging colleges to participate in the survey as is this year, and write down your feedback as you're going through the survey. We've already gotten a lot of really good feedback just in the preliminary conversations that Emma and I have had with different universities of, well, hey, some of us have all of our data is aggregated. So splitting it, because you do need to report as either a stadium or an arena, or is baseball park, or does softball get included?
We've stuck with mainly baseball. I think if the softball has enough similar venue types, it definitely can be included in that space, but we are limiting mainly to baseball at this point.
Got it. So that, some schools aggregate their data. So trying to fill out 3 different surveys is time consuming. And so how can we work with SSI to figure that out and make it easier for colleges? And so for this year, Emma has said that she is more than happy if you go through one of the surveys, and we're going to ask that you pick your football stadium. Go through the football stadium survey. All of the surveys are exactly the same, but go through that. If you would answer the questions exactly the same for all 3 of those venue types, email Emma and she will copy paste it. If you have any questions that you would answer differently based on your venue type, then we do ask that you submit a separate survey per venue type, but you've got options basically. So that was really valuable feedback that we just got the other day. And so we can work around that, and just like big kudos and thank you to Emma for your willingness and your excitement to make this all happen for us. The other thing that, and I really am jumping ahead here, we can repeat it. The other thing that SSI has said that they are happy to do is if we have 6 venues per type, or minimum of 6 venues in any of the types, we can do a customized collegiate report. And so, Emma, do you want to talk about a little bit, maybe going back to the slide before, like what that would look like? Would it be like the version of this public benchmarking, but just
so for the collegiate, it wouldn't be the public benchmarking report, unfortunately, but it could be this example of a custom individualized report focusing specifically on those collegiates, so you can get a little more into it. Let's, for example, if like a lot of colleges and maybe in one conference really wanted to see where they're at. They can, you know, if they gather enough and like you said, have that 6 of each venue type, more than happy to kind of help express that and share it as a group. It would still be anonymized and aggregated unless, you know, we can collaborate and talk if they wanted it more publicly available between them, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so it would definitely look more like the custom individualized report, but the same you know, you get that gap analysis, which would be the same overall feedback.
And that's what everyone's been asking me for. How do I stack up against my peers? And so this is the solution with an existing option that's very, very robust, very strong. And the reason for the 6 is that's what we need to, or that's what they need to be able to anonymize the data. If you have any less, you're going to know who it came from. So that's where this is coming from.
And we want to keep that integrity. We want to make sure people still feel comfortable filling that out. So yes, thank you for calling that out. Any other thoughts?
All right, totally jumped ahead.
Awesome. But yeah, we're breaking those barriers. We're getting them to participate. It's going to be great. So jumping into what are the benefits? Like we talked about kind of what SSI is. We talked about some of those barriers that may be, but what are the benefits of participating? And I think we've touched on a lot of them, but overall, those individual benchmark reports, right? So you're benchmarking, you're identifying and prioritizing those sustainability initiatives. You are, like, even there, we're sparking that competition. Maybe you're seeing where you're at and you're like, all right, like we're at the bottom of the barrel here. We need to get working, even though it is anonymized, right? And then another thing that really we've noticed is we're building, like Lauren mentioned, we're storytelling. We're building that business case for sustainability with both our public reporting and our individual. We're getting people to talk about it. We're adding statistics to these best practices. And I think that's just really showing this value into the sports industry, both professional and collegiate. It could explain both. By participating, you're contributing to industry progress. The more participants we have, the more robust and holistic our data is, and it can give a better understanding of where sports venues are. And finally, we're promoting that internal collaboration. I might mention this a few times as we continue, but you know, you share the survey, you get a custom survey link, and we'll talk a little bit about the survey itself a little bit more, but you can share that link internally with your colleagues. You're giving more staff an opportunity to see all this change you're making. Maybe you're trying to implement a new policy. Maybe staff and people on your campus are like, why? Like, we don't need to be doing that. If you share this survey and be like, hey, like, this is our best practices. This is why we're kind of doing this. They might be more inclined to help you, and you would be surprised who would be a little more enticed to help. So those are some benefits. And at this time, I want to give to Chris to see if he has any, you know, as a participant for 3 years in a row now, hopefully 4, but to see, you know, the more the benefits that he's expressed with USC.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've experienced with SSI is basically touches on all of these. And the main, I'm going to keep going back to it, but it's the fact of we use SSI as a way to see where we still need to grow, because we're not going to be the best in class for anything, especially with like our stadium, to be exact, we're a 100-year-old stadium. So like certain areas are just not going to be there in terms of like infrastructure. Like this is not going to be able to change. So we can instead focus on the things that we can control. And that's been a big like internal thing for us, is what is like the low hanging fruit that we can just, you know, check the box. And like we've been able to replace our LEDs. And the cool thing about having that connection with Emma and whoever else is on the SSI team is that I can just email them and be like, hey, just so you know, we added this within the time of submitting our survey results and then it being released. And so we've been able to update that, and then I see that reflected in the final report. And so it's the most up-to-date report that we have that we're still using to basically guide our strategy. And so definitely our storytelling aspect is going there, because we already have those narratives there. We already are showing where we're above average, where we're below average. And I can point to something specifically and say, hey, just so you know, like, we don't have enough LEDs in the stadium or something. And, you know, I can go back to hard data and show that.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Thank you. Yeah. I just find that, you know, you talk about the infrastructure, and this is kind of where we're evolving and trend. You can even see the trends in sustainability in sports industry. And that's why it's important for us to keep up with our surveys. We can tack on to those things. Like maybe, for instance, this popped in my head. We had waterless urinals added to our survey last year. We've gotten so much feedback of people who were like, it's gross. Like we can't do it. We tried. So we updated our survey. We're like, okay, is there like not waterless, but lower flow or, things like that. And we're getting those one-on-one, like Chris mentioned, like we're always here to help. We love that feedback and we just want this to be as valuable as possible for venues. So love that. So diving in just really quickly, just want to highlight the survey process. The next few slides are going to get a little more nitty-gritty of the survey itself. So right now we are in our survey window. It opened May 1st, 2024, and it'll be open through July 15th. So there's still a lot of time. And I think this is a great time, especially for colleges. Like it's past that semester, maybe a little slower season. So I think it's a great time of the year to really dive in and kind of reevaluate where your venues are at. At this point, you would receive that custom survey link that we're talking about. This is where you collect and you self-report your data. I will say, I don't know if this has been mentioned, none of it's verified. So this is all strictly on what you want to input into the survey. We'll cover it more, but nothing's required. We really want this to be, this is a tool for you. This is for the sports industry as a whole. So try to, best suit our participants. So once that July 15th window ends, in July and August, the SSI team gets working. We analyze, anonymize, and aggregate all of our participant responses. We create both those public and custom individual reports. And this year, we're releasing our individual reports to our participants first, again, highlighting that's that mini gap analysis that our participants are receiving. We're hoping to get them to them sooner. Like Chris mentioned, if they had a change last year, we delivered it after our public benchmarking report. And, Chris, that was the point exactly. We want people to be able to get their data faster. So we're releasing those individual reports, and an opportunity here that I really also want to highlight is at that time that you receive your individual report, you can schedule a one-on-one meeting with the SSI team to run through that report. We talk through those challenges you're facing. We have an executive summary. We talk about what you're doing great, where there's opportunities, what are those best practices, and really get your feedback and your goals and kind of just chat through. So it's another great opportunity to create that business case. Like, what's your struggles? What do you want to implement? And you can find those ways within your report of where there's opportunities. So another great, benefit to SSI.
And then just have a sounding board, right? Like y'all would be a really good sounding board if they've got questions, like not just about what's in the report, but like maybe how to proceed. You could provide a little guidance on that as well. Because
definitely,
you're a team of experts, you do know many things.
Yeah, we try. Yeah, no, we do. It's great. But yeah, and we've had that. People ask us these questions about maybe there's a certain question, during the time they didn't reach out to us, but they're like, we didn't quite understand this question, or we even get feedback in those meetings. It's just a great conversation piece. It's like this, we're talking it through, going through the reports, and it's just another great benefit as you're trying to implement all these best practices. And then again, finally, in October, we will release our public benchmarking report. This will highlight all of those best practices, highlight those resources and statistics that we were talking about to help make that business case and sustainability. And again, highlighting participants and all the great things that they're doing in creating that.
You know what I love about that timeline?
What?
They'll have all of this information ready to go in time for Green Sports Day on October 6th. So if they get this info in August and September, then that's going to could help drive storytelling that you do for Green Sports Day. Like, hey, look at, we were above average, or, like we participated in this. That's an effort that you're doing for sustainability in sport. Or you can highlight those observation moments for Green Sports Day. October 6th.
Definitely.
Don't forget. This Sunday this year.
It's like that was intentional. I don't know. So a little bit more, we talked about the survey. So really want to talk about the survey a little bit more here. So we understand so many different, operations and venues are filling out surveys and tracking data. And it's just, there's a lot going on. So to highlight a little bit more about our survey that I think is misunderstood. So everyone gets their survey unique link. But really calling out that most of our survey is multiple choice questions. So 65% is multiple choice. And of that, 38, almost 40% of our survey is strictly yes and no questions. Because SSI focuses on best practices. We're not focusing, and we call them heavy data questions. We're not focusing on your day-to-day. What is all your energy data? What is all your weight, your water consumption broken down? What is all your waste data? We do have, like, as you can see, for heavy, we do ask like the high level of it, but we're not asking for your scope 1, 2, and 3 emission tracking. We're not asking for anything like that. We really want to focus on those best practices, encouraging those those sustainability initiatives. So we're really proud of that. And we've noticed, and it's designed on purpose to help limit that survey fatigue and, you know, create that meaningful analysis year over year. So like we can provide to Chris, if we keep those yes and no's questions, we can't compare oranges to apple. There's so much different going on, but if we do best practices, it's easier for us to compare and give that value back to our participants. Also along those lines, almost no questions are required. So because of those 4 data, we do ask a breakdown of just your annual water consumption. And let's say you're a campus and all of it's together, that's okay. You don't have to answer it. It only is providing value back to you. But if you don't know it, you don't know it. And this is, again, designed on purpose. We want you to report what you know. We don't want you to be held back from, you know, getting all of these benefits to SSI just because you don't know a few questions.
Yeah, and I was gonna. There's been times when I've like not known like an answer, or I've not had certain data, or like I don't even know. Like I think the biggest one was where we have waterless urinals or low flow urinals, and I was like, I sometimes like there'll be a building that might have them that I don't go to often, and while I'm filling this out, I won't know every single building that has that, and I would be like unsure, or I would just want to answer it, and I was like freaking out because I was like, oh, I didn't answer the whole thing, and it was fine. Like I think I did the first year, and like it's fine for collegiate stadiums, especially that they might not know all the information, or people like to do a walk if that information isn't readily available of the whole stadium, like which is what I sometimes do for surveys like this, is really helpful. And then also the fact that it's a yes and no, and it's a lot of multiple choice makes it like it's just a breeze. It's just anything that I know off the top of my head, I just answer, and then I can kind of get back to a certain select few questions that I need to check back in on.
Right.
Yeah. So you are able to stop and come back to it?
Correct.
And about how long has it taken you to finish the survey, do you think, in total, Chris, when you've done it? Like an hour, 2 hours?
Within a day, within a work day, but to get the majority of it done, to answer those other questions, like where I have to ask about certain HVAC things and I have to talk to somebody who might be out of office, that's when like the timeline gets a little shifty. But for the most part, it's pretty quick, and I get scared that I get it done too fast. That's how easy it is.
Yeah. Don't worry, we don't grade you, I promise.
So that's helpful info to have, because I know a lot of this target audience that we're trying to encourage to fill this out are people who fill out the very robust and very helpful and very amazing ASHE STARS report. Yes. Those serve 2 different functions, and STARS is more labor intensive, as it should be for what its purpose is. And this is not that, and it's okay that it's not that.
Yes.
I'm curious, what are these 2 required questions you have?
One is to make sure you understand our terms and conditions and like say like, yep, we're gonna take the survey. And the other one is your venue name. We will require you to answer your venue name, but besides that, fill out what you would please. And I'm glad Chris brought up most, if not all, of our questions will have an NA or unsure option as well. So if you want to answer all of them and you just don't know it, you can obviously click unsure. And the great thing is even if you don't answer it, you still get that aggregated side-by-side comparison at the end of your individual report. You still can see where everyone else is at aggregated, even though you didn't answer it. But you're just not contributing to that data, of course. But no, we love it. I think it's great. And then just the final thing before we move on is that, again, we do have similar sections year over year. But like I mentioned earlier, we do evolve the survey annually to keep up with those industry trends. And I'll highlight 2 new sections that we have this year that we're really excited about. But to keep that year over year analysis and consistency, we do stick with those core sections. Really quick, we do have a new survey platform this year, which I'm sure a lot of our participants will love. The main point of this was to upgrade and improve the overall experience for our participants. And the main thing is a section navigation tool. So at the beginning of the survey now, you can click whatever section you want to go to, and it'll take you straight to that section, and you can answer those questions. And some benefits to it is you're able to also see the status of your section. So if you've already answered or completed a section, you're good. You're like, okay, I don't need to click through and make sure I did that now. So we're really excited about that. You can navigate a little easier. And again, I'm going to highlight the collaboration with your colleagues. It's easier to coordinate. Send them that unique link and be like, hey, if you have a food and beverage provider on your campus that helps you with athletics, send them your survey link and be like, hey, do you mind finishing these questions I couldn't get on our waste and food and beverage? So Chris, if you didn't want to track them down that day and you're like, do you mind just filling this out? It's a little easier because they can click right to that section.
Yeah, this is kind of huge, I would say, because I remember I was writing down like questions from different sections on like a piece of paper, and then I was waiting for a guy to come back to the office, and then I would read them out loud, and he'd be like, "Oh, let me go check." So it's like, this is really good.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. So, but don't worry, Chris, everything else is the same. I think the font is even the same, but we just wanted to make sure to improve some of those things. Questions are very similar. So just having that, we're just trying to improve it over year over year. Really quick, so here are the sections for the 2024 survey. Like I mentioned, a lot are the same. We have your basis, energy, carbon, water, waste. Again, these are all best practices. We're not asking for very specific, heavy data questions, except for a few, but your social responsibility, staff engagement. And then as you can see, so we have 2 new sections this year, emergency preparedness and biodiversity in nature. They're in the middle two, second from the up, but so we see these trends, and a lot has been happening with climate change, and so we're starting to see this affect venues and different municipalities across the nation. So our subject matter experts at APTIM helped us create a new section specifically around emergency preparedness. I don't know if you remember, but we do have a big team that goes and helps clean up after emergencies. And then also we added a biodiversity and nature section. We see this also being a huge trend in this, sustainability industry, but more specifically in the sports. The more this climate change is affecting sports in day to day, I see articles left and right popping up that, it's getting harder and harder. Things are getting shifted around. So this just shows that we are evolving. We put so much thought into the survey, and we really want it to be valuable. And then one other quick highlight. So I know we keep mentioning reaching out to, your peers and some of that, you collaborating with other staff. The left is just kind of those different departments you can reach out to. If you have a separate venue operations, maybe you have an engineering team that helps with your athletic facilities, housekeeping, you can reach out to HR department. They might know some more of that social responsibility or staff engagement questions. So things like this, just to, think, you can consider other departments that you can reach out to.
So not only is it shorter and more multiple choicey, but it's also like super collaborative, which I guess is similar to STARS, that it is super collaborative, depending on how your university approaches it. But you can put that onus not just on you. And like Chris mentioned earlier, he could now send a link to be like, hey, so, whoever you had to write down the question and asked you, like, can you just fill it out?
Right. Yeah. We're really encouraging that this year, I think.
Time.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that time isn't valuable. Even if it's 3 minutes, your time is valuable.
But
it's not months worth of effort that you have to put into this.
No, definitely not. And even just that option to delegate, right? Like if you didn't want to do it all, like it's a win-win situation. You're involving so many more people, and it's an easy way to kind of talk with them and show them that what you are working on is important. So these next 2 slides are very more in depth about kind of specifically the information you'll need to gather for the survey. So at the top, I just broke up those 16 sections from the previous slide. And then we really just wanted you to get all the information about what we kind of ask in those sections. Again, I want to emphasize these are best practice questions. These aren't specific, like for instance, energy and carbon. So if you can see here, so the energy data it is bold. So we do ask a little bit more around your electricity use, your natural gas use, those things. Again, if you don't know, feel free, you don't have to answer it. But I want to highlight, so scope 1, 2, and 3 GHG emissions, that's specifically best practice. Are you tracking them? Are you reporting on it? Do you have GHG goals? We're not asking for you for specific data there. And then at the bottom here, on the last row, your sources, options to kind of where you can get this information, your utility bills, meters, sub-meters. Maybe you have certain tracking tools your campus is using that you can find and use. And then
I was going to add that another tool that I use in conjunction with the SSI is the Play to Zero platform that GSA has.
Yeah.
And so like we have our bills on there, and all of our electricity is aggregated on there. And so I don't have to go asking around or, waiting for the accounting team to do that because it's already been done. So if you do it on one platform, you can always just transfer that information over, and it's just super easy.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So for any collegiate stadiums that are using our GSA members and use the PTZ platform, then this is super easy. Because that
Everyone,
would be like the most time consuming part. Yeah.
it is part of your membership. If you're a GSA member, sport member, you have access to the Play to Zero platform. We just have to get you set up.
Yeah. I think it's even on one of our questions if what tracking tools and Play Zero is on there. So
It is. Yeah.
yeah, there we go.
yeah. Again, this is just the latter half of those sections, same idea. The information we ask kind of getting you an idea of the question type. So for instance, with our staff engagement, do you have employee green teams? Do you have internal sustainability trainings? Again, yes and no questions, just knowing if you have it. And then another source, maybe an HR team, social responsibility team, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't have this deck already, Lauren and I can feel free to send it to you so you have all this information. No need to memorize it all or anything like that. And then finally, how do you participate? So if you haven't already, please feel free to reach out to myself or Lauren or email us at sustainablesport@aptim.com. We'd love to get you that survey link generated. Like Lauren mentioned, if you want to stick with one, that's great and we can get it started. But we've already kind of touched on this, that collegiate participants are a little different as there are probably all 3 venue types on campus. So kind of just chat, like if we want to do one, that's great. If you want to do all 3, let's go for it. But just knowing that you would get 1 link per venue. You would get a link from our survey platform. If not, check your mail, your junk mail. That's unfortunately going there. But I will reach out to each participant individually with their links as well. So once we had our survey launch, I made sure I reached out to Chris separately and had his link attached just in case. But yeah, so this is just how you can get, to get participating. And then this is just next steps, kind of rounding it out. Lauren, I don't know if you have any comments on our summit coming up, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, so the Green Sports Alliance Summit is going to be in Los Angeles, California, June 11th through the 13th. We would love for everyone to join us. It's going to be hosted at LA Live across a couple different venues. You can go to our website and find out more information about it. If you're interested in registering, SSI has a discount code for you. You can use SSI 15 for 15% off of your registration. And there is going to be a strategy workshop, and APTIM will have some representation on that. They'll be one of the facilitators, and we're really excited to bring that to you. And, you will learn how to use tools like this into building your sustainability strategy, and what that all takes. So yeah, that's coming up. If you got any questions about it, let me know. And yeah, just really excited to be bringing this conversation to you to hopefully encourage participation, because again, I don't think there has been a single conversation I've had with a college or university that didn't state a need that directly ties to one of the deliverables you can get from this report. It's just going to help so many things.
Yeah.
And like, I don't get a commission from APTIM for saying that, I promise. It really does meet the need. We've been trying to figure out how do we create this kind of information for the collegiate space. And so it's perfect that we have an existing tool. We have a partner who is really motivated to make it as valuable to collegiate as possible. And the only catch is, or the only thing to do is try it, filling it out as it exists this year. And then we've got opportunities to tweak and make it more robust for collegiate for future years, which is just, thank you, Emma.
Yeah,
Really
definitely. I'm so excited.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about was, like she mentioned, like, can we do it conference level? Is there potential to include more venues? Does it need to be just like not broken out by venue? Like, there's so many different ways that we can take it. And yeah, I could really go on forever about how awesome this is, but I should stop. We're already a good chunk of time in. Maybe we have some FAQs just to like review.
Yeah, I just have these at the very end, kind of really reiterating everything we talked about. Who will see my data? Again, everything is confidential. The individual reports go straight to you. They're just anonymous in regards to public available data. And then y'all
don't even use y'all don't even use the data on the back end. It's literally for this, and then it is not, Aptim is not pulling anything from it for use in their other business. It's not
No.
not how it works.
No. Yes, all we, data managed only with SSI task in itself. So yes, we really just want to provide that resource. Why should we participate? I think we really hit on that in our benefits, but it is first of its kind initiative. We're very unique in that space. We don't offer, rewards, awards and rankings. So, it's just a great tool. How much does it cost? Like we said, no cost to venues or teams. And who should participate? All collegiate venues. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, stadiums, arenas.
Y'all, I set a goal for myself that I was going to get 21 colleges to participate. So help me.
Let's do it.
I think we can do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are just some frequently asked questions. I think we touched on a lot, but thank you, Chris, for joining and, providing that firsthand experience with SSI. I think it's so valuable to have your feedback and input as well. And Lauren for hosting this. GSA has always been such a great collaborator, and I'm just so excited to expand more into the collegiate space with this. So thank you both so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Emma. Thank you. Thanks, Lauren.
Go team.
Go team.
Yeah.